Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 178 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on September 12th, 2023. Man, how are all you folks doing today? Yeah, man, the weather is cooling down somehow. Yeah, a brisk 90-degree day. No, so refreshing. No, it's no joke, though. Stretches of triple digits are... It's just getting ridiculous. It's heat's fine, and then it happens for such a long time. It's just bothersome. You're like really relax. It's too much. But before we get started today, real quick, I do want to give a quick moment here. Monday of this week was the 22nd anniversary of the attacks on our nation, September 11th, 2001. I thought I would mention that. Many of you remember where you were during that event. I certainly do. I think I speak for all of us in the United States when I say we won't forget it. We're not going to forget what happened, what things have changed since that day, how things continue to evolve. To those of you who lost people that day or who've lost people since then, in aftermath activities, sorry for your loss. You folks know I don't get into politics during this podcast ever, and this isn't politics, okay? It's my home. The United States is my home, and to a lot of you, or most of you listening, it's also your home, okay? So I just want to mention that, and just so you know that I know that I mentioned it, okay? Now, on a lighter note, you guys see that new Beretta piston AR? Oh, oh, the Italians. What are they doing? No, I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, honestly. I just, it was late in the workday, and I jumped on the old Instagram, and I was like, oh my goodness, Beretta, what are you doing? What is you doing? Yeah, I did see it. And then I was seeing earlier today, I saw some new guns from PSA too, and I was like, what? Yeah, I'm going to be saving my lunch money, I think. Might be doing a little bit of gun buying for the holidays. No, I have no idea when these guns are coming out. I'm speculating. You ever do that though? You go to your wife and you're like, hey honey, so would you like to shoot this rifle? I think it's just the thing for you. And then bam, you're buying a rifle, and also you're buying another rifle because you gotta buy one for yourself so you can have quality time with your wife, right? You gotta do that. You can't just let her shoot all by herself, right? So bam, you got the new Beretta and the PSA rifles, quality time. Everyone wins. Disclaimer: this might not work. It's like a legal disclaimer. Yeah, don't do that. It's probably a bad idea. No. I have some good tech stuff to speak about today on today's episode, I think. First up, we'll hit another tech brief. That's right. The lab has been pumping out that data, so we'll hit the technical discussion for the latest white paper. That's the CAT ODB on Subsonic 300 blackout. And we'll go over another technical topic this episode, the latest PEW Lab Quiz. Yeah, I think we're on quiz 5 now, so we'll do that. Man, they need to chill on these. I need to hit listener questions, so it's giving me too much content, so it's fine. We'll have to hit those listener questions again soon, okay? Okay, it'll be good. Okay, let's get on with this now, on with the show. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. That's right, because nothing you do, exercise, sports, anything is worth doing that without consistency. That's right. You have to do it all the time if you want to be good at it. Legion Athletics can help. Whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, everything you need? Maybe not, but they have a lot. Visit legionathletics.com. There is a link in the show notes. As always, code word PewScience to save 20% off of your first order. And if you keep using that code for double loyalty points, you'll end up getting a net 10% off everything going forward with points using that code. Get strong. It's important. And you may as well save money while doing it. I like Legion. They have third-party testing for their supplements. It's I'm sure they're not the only place that has that, but they sponsor this podcast and they have that, so go buy stuff. This episode is also brought to you by Top Gun Range Houston. If you're in the Houston area, even if you're just visiting, They're worth checking out. In addition to having a 15-lane indoor range, they have the largest firearm rental fleet in the whole state of Texas, and it's a pretty big state. You can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns, and that's right, you guessed it, machine guns. You can check out their firearm rental inventory on their website at topgunrange.com, and you can also find them on Instagram at Top Gun Range. Go check them out. They're good guys. This episode is also brought to you by High-End Armament Technology, a dealer for insane people. A dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories. They have significant longevity in the machine gun and NFA game, as well as significant expertise in the procurement and operation of night vision and thermal optics infrared sighting systems, basically lasers. Check them out at highendarms.com, on Instagram at High-End Arms, and they have a Facebook page, which is also High-End Arms. If you're looking for something insane and you're just like, you know what? I got all these Benjamins burning a hole in my pocket. I need to get a new GAT, but also with lasers. Call Robert at High-End Arms. He'll hook you up. And by hook you up, I mean take all of your money so you can buy things from him. Tell him Jay sent you. This episode is also sponsored by Silencer Shop. That's right. You can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically. And in turn, you cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. That's pretty good. Money back guarantee. Can't beat that. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. And finally, this episode, and all episodes, and pretty much everything we do here, is sponsored by the PEW Science Laboratory. That's right. I am the technical director of the lab, and in the interest of public education, the lab sponsors this podcast, and the lab also runs a public research effort, which continues to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. You can visit the lab's website, pewscience.com, for the suppression rating. It's the simplest, most accurate hearing-safe rating for your suppressed small arms based on true inner ear response of, your ears that are on your head from the entire gunshot. From before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. It's the whole thing. And PEW Science is the home of the silencer sound standard. There's 7 sections. The most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the entire world. And it's all available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. Check it out, okay? And you yourself, yes, you listening, you can support this podcast too. And you can even support the lab. You can support all the public testing that's done, all that stuff, by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. And you know what? If you join, you get more data too. It's pretty cool. You get some neat articles. You get more data in every article that we publish. It's a really neat deal. You help us, we help you. And you know what? If you don't want like recurring stuff, and maybe you feel generous, maybe you just do a one-time donation. There's a donate button on the review page, on the podcast page. Every little bit helps. And something, you know what? If you're not interested in spending money, which in this economy, what's happening here, if there's anything happening, I don't know. Maybe that's reasonable. Maybe you just do something free. You rate the podcast on iTunes or Spotify or something. You give it a good old 5 stars, and you let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. Help normalize the use of suppressed small arms, okay? Yeah, that'll help. Okay. There's 2 topics for you today I'm prepared to discuss with you. Yeah. First topic, topic 1, latest public laboratory white paper, Sound Signature Review 6.122, Combat Application Technologies, CAT ODB A1718. On Subsonic 300 Blackout. That's right. Short tech brief for the silencer. Interesting performance. We'll talk about that. And then in topic 2, we'll hit PEW Science Lab Quiz number 5. I think this is a good one. I think a lot of folks are participating in these. That's really awesome. Good to see. We'll go over the answers. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move into topic 1 at a time of 9 minutes and 25 seconds. Excellent. Okay. One moment. Okay. Topic 1, latest public laboratory white paper, Sound Signature Review 6.122, CAT ODB on Subsonic 300 Blackout. Combat Application Technologies. Man, I feel like everyone's talking about these guys. It's crazy. Interesting performance of the silencer, so let's see if we can do this. And do you guys like the shorter tech briefs? What I've been trying to do is streamline things. I hope they still help you. I don't want to make them so short that it takes content away for your understanding. That's one of my fears. What I don't want to do is make them too short, because I know some people don't even read the articles. They wait for me to speak about them. Every time there's an article, they wait till the podcast, because everyone learns differently. We've talked about that before on this podcast, where everyone learns differently, right? Some people learn they're very visual. Some people are more auditory, and some people like both, and some people, they just can't get enough. They like all of it. But I want to make sure that I'm delivering what you folks like. So please, if you have feedback, I take all feedback seriously. So, well, most part, as long as you're nice. No, I take constructive criticism too. Constructive being the operative word. So we'll see how that flushes out. This is the 4th episode in a row, I think, where we've had a tech brief. That's a consequence of a lot of work coming out of the lab. It is what it is. So I do feel like there's a lot I want to hit today, and again, actually, you know what? It's not some of the stuff I want to hit in this talk. It's not necessarily about this silencer in particular. It's also about how to use the data. I think that's important. I think expectations for users are important, and so we'll see how this shakes out when I go through this, because I want to make sure every time we deliver information that it's done, with compassion and understanding and purposefully. Don't want to just like throw a grenade into a room and walk away. We want to make sure to shepherd people's understanding properly so people can learn. That's what education's all about. Okay, so Article 6.122, the 102nd article in Section 6 of the Silencer Sound Standard. 122nd, that's crazy. A public presentation. Again, this is the 122nd article in Section 6 of the Silencer Sound Standard. What is the Silencer Sound Standard? It is a public presentation of consistent mill standard test data. So that is continuing, you see. And we did this on a Sunday, no less. The lab is very busy, so the schedules are shifting to accommodate all the things happening. That's why you saw this on a Sunday. Sometimes we do Sundays. We've done that before. Just this Sunday was another one of those. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Big thanks to the Pew Science members. Thanks to the Pew Science Lab clients for your patience. I really mean that a lot. And thanks to the members of the public, all the listeners of the podcast. A lot going on, so it's cool when you folks understand when things may be faster or slower, doing our best. So thank you. Thank you for your patience in all of this. I'll give you a second to pull up the article if you like. I'll be looking at the member version, but the free version will do just fine. Okay, if you have that up, you can pull that up. Okay, so this is 6.122. Okay, CAT ODB A1 718. Okay, so what does that mean? That means Combat Application Technologies ODB. It's their A1 version. It's the Inconel model. The 718. That's why it's the Inconel one. It's the alloy designation. You saw this a few articles back. You saw the silencer before we published a white paper of the silencer's performance in the Mark 18 with 556. So that's 10.3 inch 556 performance. That was in section 6.120. That's Article 120 of the standard. So there's actually been other Pew Science laboratory testing of the silencer. It's a 762 silencer. So the subject of today's tech brief is its Subsonic 300 blackout performance. So we're slowly building that Subsonic 300 blackout data set, right? Oh, 1 second, guys. Okay, I'm back. So we're slowly building that Subsonic 300 blackout data set, and we have a pretty neat distribution of silencers so far, right? So how does this one do? How does this one do? We talked about its high flow rate on 556, and we talked about how even though it was overboard for 556, it's still suppressed relatively well, right? It ended up performing a lot like the Huxworks Flow 762 on 556. So there's a lot of parallels here, right? But how does this do with Subsonic 300 blackout? What happens when the pressure drops and the duration drops? What happens when you drop pressure and duration on the input side? So that's this white paper. Okay, so bottom line up front, 67.2 composite suppression rating on the 8-inch 300 blackout bolt action with subsonic ammunition. Okay, 67.2 composite, 57.7 at the muzzle, 67.2 at the ear. Interesting. That's interesting, yeah. So this entire suite here, this suppression ratings, it is something that did surprise us. We were actually surprised about the signature. We're really digging into it more even now. We have a lot of other test programs we're working on simultaneously. And just so you guys know, like when I say test programs, that's not just, oh, we went and tested something. A test program is from initial bid through project administration, project management, testing, QA/QC, analysis, reporting, publication. Test programs are not just, we don't just like go shoot something and the next day you see it on the website, guys. These are professional laboratory test programs. So again, I sometimes I want to make sure, I want to make sure folks understand the level of effort that goes into this stuff, because it's a lot of effort. Okay, and we take every program very seriously, and that's why they take a long time. So we're digging into this more. With all the other programs we have going on, some of the characteristics of the sensor haven't been flushed out yet. Okay, so suffice to say, you still have the very in-depth technical article of things we have looked at. There are definitely things going on here with the CAT ODB that are interesting. That's clear. We did a lot of checks. We tested this a lot, actually. Me personally, I'm the director, so I like the buck stops with me. Okay, I'm responsible for the direction, and so I really wanted to be sure about some of this. And this happens sometimes. It happened with the Huxworks Flow 556K. Actually, you remember that? I talked about that on the podcast. We had to really dig on that one because it was doing something crazy. And that's only a recent example of something that was super weird. There have been other examples too that I've spoken about over the years on this podcast of stuff that took us just really by surprise. And the CAT ODB, it fits in that weird category. I think that's a really good adjective. Weird. It's weird. It's a weird silencer. So I want to take this opportunity. Let's keep in context with this technical discussion for this review. What is the suppression rating? Okay. What is it? Well, it's created for all of you, for the public consumer market. Okay. First off, that's why it's created. What is it? It is a hearing damage risk criterion. Okay. Super simple, repeatable, 0 to 100 scale. Okay. We give it at the muzzle. And when we say muzzle, what does that really mean? It means 1 meter left of the end cap, mil standard, free field. Okay. And then we give it 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear, which is mil standard with the shooter in the free field, right? And what else do we give? Well, we give the composite number. That's the big number at the top of the page. That's the big number in bold. Okay? That is just a 1 number value for the sound field with coarse resolution. Okay? That is the everyman number. That's the number given. If you must be given 1 number, that's the number. Okay? If you are listening to this podcast, it is extremely likely that you do not use the composite suppression rating because you know the muzzle and ear ratings are more detailed metrics, and you know that they're probably more useful. But the big number remains for the public at large, the large population. I've spoken about this before. I'm sure you can find episodes if you dig, but I just wanted to, it's very important for you guys to understand this. So you think about this. You think about what I've just told you and the delineation between muzzle and ear. And you say, okay, what is the signature from the CAT ODB doing on a Subsonic 300 blackout bolt gun? What is it doing? How severe is it? How severe is the signature? Because that's what we talk about at PEW Science, the severity, literally. So at the muzzle in the free field, it's hitting 57.7. Okay, so let's go to our dose chart. It's you know what's really cool? If you scroll down past the big graphic at the top of the page, the next graphic you see is the dose chart in every review. It's really cool, right? Actually, did you know, I'm sorry, I don't want to get off track, but I just want to say really early on in the early history of PEW Science, I didn't even have the dose chart in every review. I only put it in there because I got feedback from readers, and they're like, oh man, every time I look at the rating, I have to go back and I have to look at the dose chart. Can you put the dose chart in the review too? I said, yeah, but it's in section 5. Can't you just go? I was like, you know what? You're right. This is one of those cases of the customer's always right. Let me put the dose chart in every review, and so far so good. So let's scroll down. And you can go to the dose chart. So we're hitting 57.7 at the muzzle. So let's go to the dose chart. What does that mean? You go to the chart that says, it says full range day. It's hitting in that zone. Okay. So if you're a bystander in the middle of the free field, it is likely someone shooting the silencer with Subsonic 300 blackout is not going to bother you that much all day at the range. That's what that says. Okay? That's a good peg point. Should be a good peg point for you in that example, okay? Now, does that mean this is ninja quiet? No. No, it doesn't. It does not mean it's ninja quiet. This isn't a full Nelson, guys. This isn't a Hyperion. Okay, this is a high flow rate silencer. And for a high flow rate silencer, it's doing extremely well. And frankly, it's doing extremely well in general. But don't think this is a ninja thing with 300 blackout, because it's not. Okay, use the dose chart, guys. That's why it's there. Quantifying signature severity objectively. Okay, that's the whole point of this. Okay, so it's hearing damage risk potential. And I'm telling you, it's pretty good. It's not a full Nelson to a bystander, though, so relax. Now, that's what it did at the muzzle. Okay, so what it did is the muzzle. So what does it do at the shooter's ear? At the operator's head, what does it do? On a bolt gun. Remember, guys, the test host is an 8-inch 300 blackout bolt gun. So you only have one source of pressure to atmosphere, the end cap orifice of the silencer. I say end cap, the distal orifice of the silencer, the hole in the end. I mean, yes, you have sound that travels through the gun itself, through the metal, into the air, and we measure that too, as you see in the waveforms. But really, the point here for you is that this is a bolt gun. There is no ejection port blast. Okay, so when we talk about the shooter's ear suppression rating, which is 66.4, we're talking about on a bolt gun, okay, on the 8-inch bolt gun, on the gun from the test that was tested. Cool? Okay, now, 66.4 is higher than the muzzle rating of 57.7, right? Right, it's actually quite a bit higher. It's almost a category higher. In PEW Science parlance, we use the 10 points as a category higher. Okay, so this is almost a category higher. That's a big swing. It's a big swing. When you get into the 60s, you are really protecting yourself a lot. That's a good thing. That's good. It's good. When you are in the 60s at the shooter's ear on a 300 blackout bolt gun, that is good. There are actually a lot of silencers that can get you there, which is great. There's a lot of silencers that can get you there. Look at figure 6 in the article, right? Let me scroll down really quick so I don't butcher this. Yeah. Surefire, SOCOM 300 SPS, that'll get you there. Banish 30 Gold from Silencer Central, that'll get you there. Enticer L, the Diligent Defense Enticer L, that'll get you there. Let's see. Sig Sauer, SRD 762 TIQD. It's always a mouthful to say, but no, it's a very well-known prolific silencer. That'll get you there. So all those silencers really quiet to the shooter. And of course, the big boys, the Hydrogen L, Full Nelson, Hyperion, those will get you there. Full Nelson gets you into the 70 zone. It's crazy. So the ODB is doing things like that for the shooter on a bolt gun, but it's louder at the muzzle. Why? You may ask. Why is that? Why the disparity between the muzzle and ear on a bolt gun? Does that ever happen? You could ask, well, does that ever happen? Does it happen with other silencers? And the answer is yes, absolutely it does. Again, look at figure 6 in the article. And when I say figure 6, it's the red and blue bar chart, guys. And if you're colorblind, it's a bar chart, and it has diagonal hashes and the crisscross cross hatches on the bars. Okay, so look at that. Look at the difference between the two bars for each silencer, and when they're close and when they're further away. Do you notice anything in the chart and what you know about these silencers? When you look at them, you got to think about that. We mentioned this in the white paper. I actually wrote this down in the article, and you can read about it. This is not without precedent. It happens due to sound field shape, and that is driven by velocity gradients that are altered by certain distal geometry, so geometry at the end of the silencer where the gas is coming out. And another thing that alters those gradients is the overall flow rate. That's right. Other silencers with similar or greater disparities than this one at the muzzle and ear are something like the Surefire SOCOM 762 RC2, very prolific silencer. It has the same type of thing happening. The Hyperion K, small silencer with a high flow rate. Enticer S, actually, Diligent Defense is actually their design actually causes that to happen in many regimes. It's just a consequence of the Enticer. The SIG SLH 300 Ti, that has that's a huge disparity at the muzzle and ear on that one. Several of these silencers, that's actually worth talking, or just worth mentioning. Remember that several of these silencers have an even larger disparity at the muzzle and ear than the Cat ODB, which is interesting. So, and I know I'm going a little more deep into this part than I typically do, but I say all of this to say, please understand the suppression rating, guys. I want to use this as an opportunity to highlight something that it happened a few years ago during this effort, and I've seen it happen here and there, but probably not as much lately. But I still feel like I need to remind you guys of something. The testing is done in the free field per the MIL standard. Okay, that is why the silencer sound standard is so strict. It's a strict execution of MIL standard testing coupled with consistent engineering analysis. Okay, so all of the results you see are standardized. That is why it's called the silencer sound standard. It's standardized. Now, if you change the environment, you have then deviated from the standard. Okay, this is important to understand. If you put a Cat ODB on a mini fix with 300 blackout subsonic ammo and you go shoot it in your garage, you will still experience suppression. Right? The silencer will work, okay? But your ears will receive pressure histories and impulse gradients that look a lot different from what the members see in the member review at the ear, right? Okay, so, and you know what? Your buddy helping you rebuild a carburetor in your garage with you, who freaks out when you pop off some rounds because maybe you're built different and he he doesn't know you're going to shoot. Maybe he doesn't know you as well as you know yourself. No, that buddy in the garage with you is going to have different pressure history at his ears with different impulse gradients than shown in the muzzle waveforms. Too, right? Both of you are going to experience something different because you're not in the free field anymore. So keep that in mind. Now you take that example. Take it out of the garage and take it to go pig hunting. I'm going to go shoot some piggies, some wild hogs. We call them piggies, but here in Texas, they're a big pest, and we don't like them because they root up stuff, and they're not native to the area. They're pests. So, you go out and you want to shoot some hogs. What? You're going to be near a tree line, maybe. Could be. You don't know where you're going to go on the ranch. You could be near a tree line. Or wait, maybe you're standing right next to your truck. Or something. Maybe you're underneath an awning on the back porch of your ranch house, and you're just having fun. You want to go, you see something, you're having some dinner with your family out there. You look out the window, you see something, you get up, you're like, hold on, honey, I got to neutralize this guy. And she's like, you go get him, Navy SEAL guy, whatever you fantasize about being at the ranch. And then you go and you see where I'm going with this. Are you in a shooting bay or an indoor range? Are you on a back porch? Are you next to your truck? See, all of the examples I'm giving you are examples of shooting your weapon near reflecting surfaces. That is not the free field. Do not expect the Cat ODB on your 300 blackout weapon to sound the same as a Hydrogen L or a Full Nelson or a Hyperion. It's not going to. Okay? I know the composite suppression ratings are close. I know. But look at the muzzle rating. Consider where you are shooting. Remember Huxworks. Okay, remember the Flow 556K on the Mark 18. Remember the HXQD. Remember their older technology, HXQD. Remember how some people get late time reflections and freak out? Why would you think something's crazy in late time, right? Really, way lower muzzle suppression rating in late time. It's reflecting somewhere. It gets back to you. You hear it, and when I say late time, your brain is not really, it doesn't run on the millisecond regime. Your ears do, but your brain doesn't. So like when you hear that reflection in late time, you're like, oh my God, it was so loud. It's like, well, yeah, it was loud because you're perceiving it as loud, but it's not as damaging because the amplitude is way lower and it was stretched out over a longer duration. So remember, muzzle and ear matter. They both matter. Free field's important. This is the physics-based way to explain this to you. And until you go shooting yourself, you're not going to have a true appreciation for this. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to shoot this stuff in person, like any silencer, right? The purpose of PEW Science is to give you quantifiable, standardized data that you can take to the bank and use it with your experience, okay? That's why it's so important, because what I don't want people to do is they misunderstand this. Just look. I'm serious. Look at Figure 6 and look at the disparities, and you'll see like I'm telling you, when you have a bolt action 300 blackout and the muzzle and ear get super close together and they're super high, that is indicating there's some space magic. Quiet. That's ninja stuff. Understand? And you'll see what I mean. Okay, but again, this is the silencer. Just spoiler alert, guys. And this, Kat didn't tell me this. This is just my speculation, but guys, let me tell you a little secret. I don't think this silencer is supposed to do this. Like, I don't think this is like way better than like, it doesn't make sense. So because here, the $1 million question here is, this is a high flow rate silencer, right? So the $1 million question is it going to be as loud near reflecting surfaces as other high flow rate silencers like the HXQD stuff or the SIG SLH stuff? And the answer is probably not. It's probably not. This is not a bolt gun silencer, but we put it on a bolt gun and this is what it does. Isn't that crazy? So you ask yourself that $1 million question: is it going to behave like other high flow rate silencers near reflecting surfaces where people start to complain? And the answer is probably not. And the why is Article 6120 and 6122. That this is the weirdness of the ODB. On the Mark 18, on the Mark 18, we saw this silencer induce weapon kinematics like a Flow 762, right? And what did that do? Well, it indicated that early time flow rate, at least, is elevated, right? We saw that. That's in the data. We saw it dump gas momentum to atmosphere at a rate that was similar to high-performance 5.56 silencers. It was dumping gas slower. So this is completely contrary to what rifle silencers do in that combination, right? Usually. So we knew that the surge bypass technology in the silencer was doing something abnormal. We knew that. Okay? We knew that it was flowing fast, but dumping gas in a controlled way out of the end of it. And then that's really, it's just a crude way to say that, but it's the simplest way to describe what the silencer does. I know it's for all you physicists and engineers out there, you're probably cringing at how I said that, but it's the simplest way to describe it. It did it on the Mark 18, and by God, it did it with Subsonic 300 blackout too. And so if you look at figure, and I know I'm doing this in a weird order today, but if you look at figure 2B, if you were looking at the previous bar chart before, if you scroll all the way up to figure 2B and figure 3A, The thing is just not aggressively dumping gas. It's just not. And we have that Mark 18 data set to show it's not making your bolt go super fast in an AR either. And when you look at the member version of the Mark 18 article, you see that it showed even more evidence that the ejection port signature was even shorter duration. Okay, you have all these indicators, guys, that this thing is definitely enacting high flow rate characteristics, but it's not behaving externally like that. So when you look at the impulse regime here in this article in 122, when you look at figure 3, it's just odd. It's odd. It's like if you took the thing on 556 and you just told it to do the same thing. You're like, okay, here ODB, it's like you take take your autistic kid by the shoulders and you're like, okay, good. You counted the cards in the casino. Okay, now go play blackjack over here. And it's like, okay, definitely Kmart, definitely. It's like Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man, remember? And you put him over. Put him on 300 blackout, and the shape is different. The shape is different, but the flow normalization is similar. It's smoothing flow and it's doing it uniformly. And I know that sounds kind of abstract, but have you really looked at silencers with super high flow rate and what the signatures do? How aggressive they vent? Look at the HXQD stuff, the flow stuff, the SIG SLH stuff on the website, guys. Look at it. Look at the gas momentum. We have plenty of tests in those regimes and all kinds of hosts. Look at the gas momentum. Is that velocity driven? Guys, yes, momentum is velocity driven. This just in, news at 11. Of course momentum is velocity driven. Come on, it's momentum. So you see this, and it's basically the foregone conclusion. Technically, if the CAT ODB did what it did on the Mark 18, what was going to happen on Subsonic 300 blackout? It probably was going to have to do this in some way, right? It was going to have to do it in some way, and that's the nuance here. It's frightening intellectually. Because the more, it's not frightening, that's hyperbole. It's what's a good word? Shoot. It's train of thought left the station. It's not frightening intellectually. It's like a slap in the face, or maybe it's like eye opening. That's a good one. It's eye opening intellectually when you look at this. The more we look at the data, the more we see this really can't do anything else. To me, this is an example of extremely consistent coupled analysis. The physics in Article 6120 and 6122 are coupled. Even if you wanted to, you could not decouple the behavior shown in the two articles. Understand? The existence of each other makes them a pair. It's like a yin and a yin yang. It's like a yin and a yang that coupled together, nested. You have congruent behavior in two regimes because you have to. It is in the silencer's nature. The fingerprint is indicative of the behavior. Okay, so remember when we tested the HXQD 762. Remember from the Huxworks OSS, it was OSS at the time. The OSS HX Huxworks HXQD 762 on 300 blackout. Remember when we tested that? It was very loud, very severe. I think it might have the most severe signature on 300 blackout that we presented. I can't remember off the top of my head. So the really great thing about that test, actually, the best, most fruitful thing about that testing and analysis that PEW Science did years ago on that silencer was not the answer that the HXQD Helix flow-through technology was loud with subsonic 300 blackout. No, that wasn't the pay dirt there. That wasn't the biggest conclusion we got from that. Sure, that's a high-level result, yes. But to me, that wasn't the biggest conclusion. The biggest conclusion to me from the HXQD Subsonic 300 blackout test data was the coupled physics of that data and the 308 data and the 556 data. The fingerprints of the silencer in all the regimes became coupled like a ballet of momentum variation. You see, it was like a ballet. The gas momentum transfer behavior, the impulse signatures, the very nature of the HXQD fingerprint is defined by its geometry and how the gas behaves at different pressures for different durations. It is defined by those parameters. Everything is consistent because it has to be. It's like that because it is. The HXQD has to be loud on 300 blackout. It has to be. It has no choice. It is its nature. Okay? This is why when we tested the SLH 300 Ti from SIG, remember, we forecasted a quick conclusion. We knew that it had a nature. We knew. Why did we know? We saw the inside of the silencer on the internet. And that wasn't on purpose that we saw that. That was just posted by people. Even maybe SIG did. It was like a section view. They gave it to people. People were sending it to us to see. I was like, oh, that's neat. Thanks for sending it. I don't know why. I just get pictures of it. It's not a secret. I mean, then they said the patent drawings. We see the patent. We see what it looks like inside. So And look, to be clear, we had the full HXQD pedigree. We understood what happens when you do what SIG did. And look, not tooting our own horn here. I'm not trying to toot the horn of Pew Science here, but we kind of called the SIG thing, didn't we? Kind of called it. Totally called it. It's not a knock on SIG, guys. I'm giving these examples because with the SIG thing, it is in the silencer's nature. It's in its nature. High flow rate by the mechanism displayed in that silencer, the geometry commands the behavior. It commands it. That rocket science is understood. And yes, this is rocket science. It's actually the definition of rocket science. The whole serious though, the whole goal here is controlling flow out of a jet nozzle, guys. Somehow, somewhere, I don't know where, I don't know who did this. Somehow, somewhere, folks have tried to convince people that silencers are not rocket science, but they are. And they're always going to be. Okay? They're literally rocket science. So, if you don't think that, you don't have to. It doesn't change what it is, okay? So when we have these data points, the HXQD, the SLH 300 Ti, heck, even the Surefire SOCOM 762 RC2, and hey, the CGS Hyperion K, or even the smaller silencers, the Silencer Co Omega 9K, the rugged Razor 762. When we have these subsonic 300 blackout data points, we tell ourselves, oh, we get it, right? We understand what happens when you go from supersonic to subsonic flow. We understand what happens when you drop duration. We understand that when you have a less restrictive design, you'll probably dump gas faster and you'll be louder. And we tell ourselves we understand it. We understand this. We get it. We got the T-shirt. 300 blackout testing analysis starts to become boring, actually, when you start to think like this, and I think we're all guilty of it. I think I started to become guilty of it, frankly. When you start solving all the problems and you sit back and you're like, well, dang, this is. I think I mentioned that a previous episode of the podcast. Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, dang, man, I don't want to understand all this because then what new is going to be? It's not going to be fun anymore. When you treat it just as an intellectual pursuit and you start, if you stop thinking about the utilitarian nature of everything and you start thinking about, anyway, so. You think about these things and then you sit back and you look at this and you say, oh man, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. Bam. Right, just when you thought the sharks left. No, I think that's where we are now. It's this technology. It's just been shown to do exactly what folks wanted it to do in early time. Here's a good analogy for you, a little fun analogy. What does the ODB do? That it does what you want it to do in early time. Then it creates a little South Park episode inside where there's random steps, and at the end it says done. Remember that South Park episode where there's like it's a joke. Yeah. Flowed fast, but not that loud. Later, nerds. And then it ends. It's like that's like what it does. That's surge bypass, I guess. It's like later, nerds. Flowed fast. But guess what? I'm not gonna be loud. Later. So far in our lab testing, I don't know who else. Frankly, I don't know who else is testing these. I'm telling you, in Pew Science lab testing right now, so far in our testing, that's surge bypass, dude. That's what it does. Flows fast, tells the gun everything's cool, and then hangs with the bigger and quieter silencers all day on 556 or 300 blackout or whatever you do. I don't know. So that's where we are. That's where we are on that, guys. That's the data. You can see it. You can see how weird it is. The thing, hey, this is important. It does have some first round pop on 300 blackout subsonic for sure, dude. It totally does. Is the first round pop super horrible? Nah, no, absolutely not. It's not. You could actually do way worse. You could do way worse in that department, but it is noticeable. You're gonna hear it. You know what? It's funny. It's not funny, but it is interesting. You'll actually notice that the first round is a little more boomy. You will notice that. So actually, you know what? It's actually the FRP from this silencer on subsonic 300 blackout to bystanders is more severe, which you knew from the article. But what you didn't know, probably because I don't know if I said this part, it's also a little more boomy. Interesting. It's just more low frequency inner ear excitation there for you on the first shot. It's just a really interesting signature. Now for the shooter, it's a completely different story. So you can probably tell by the suppression rating deviation for muzzle and ear members. You see that data. So yeah, guys, take a look at the data. Take a look at how it stacks up to other silencers in the hearing damage risk potential, and you'll learn with us. You will learn with Pew Science. That's right. We are literally learning all about this technology right now, and all of us are learning about it together. I'm right where you are. You're caught up. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you're caught up with me. I'm telling you everything I know. So you're caught up. You're seeing this as we are. This is literally us testing a company's stuff, reporting it to you, and we are doing this for we're reporting this for a technology that no one has ever seen before. Actually, well, let me. That might be a dangerous statement. I actually don't know if that's true. Let me rephrase. This is a technology that I don't think we have seen before in silencers. That's probably a better way to say that. I haven't. And we here at the lab haven't. And if that's true, which I believe it to be, I am fairly certain nobody listening to this podcast has seen it before either. Before this silencer, right? So that means the waveforms you see on the website in these articles, in these regimes, are most likely the only place they exist outside of private laboratories that don't publish any research. Right? Because you got to think that someone's tested these somewhere in some like, crazy super secret squirrel place, probably, but nowhere you're ever going to see. So that means Pew Science is the black site where you get it from. The black site that has a white-sided website there. Yeah, that's a good way to think of Pew Science. So, spooky stuff when you think about it like that. And look, I'm not saying that because it's spooky quiet. I'm saying that because this stuff is weird. Sometimes the word spooky is just weird, dude. So all in all, yeah, interesting silencer, guys. I still have it here on my desk. I think it's just been sitting here. I still have the PWS in pieces here too. I've been so swamped. I haven't cleaned up. All in all, this is interesting. I just picked up the Inconel version right here. I have the mount out of it. It's cool. I mean, I think it's gonna be wild when you guys look inside of this thing. When you see it, it looks weird. It's an interesting silencer, Inconel or titanium. Not super short, but not super long. It's kind of, I think I posted a picture the other day. It's kind of like the size of the Sandman S, roughly. Maybe a little shorter. Maybe, I can't remember. Longer or shorter? I don't know. Give or take. Put a hub mount in it. Whatever. The Inconel is like £1 without the mount. I think titanium is about half that, give or take. This is a 7.62 silencer, so put it on whatever fits through that. Works on semi-autos, works on machine guns, doesn't seem to gas you out, works on the SCAR rather well. Done that. SCAR's happy with the ODB. That's good. When the SCAR's happy, I'm happy. Apparently works on 300 blackout subsonic pretty well. We see that today. Oh, you know what? I imagine it will be cool on a semi-auto 300 blackout gun. I haven't tried that. So yeah, that's all I have for now. Again, you are seeing this at the same time as we are. There will be more. The lab is really busy right now, not only with testing, again, but with analysis as well. There's just a lot, so please be patient. We appreciate that. We are underwater. So I hope the discussion helped. I hope this helps you understand how to use the suppression rating. And I hope you read the article, because I said what I said today and more in a very technical way that was probably a lot more to the point. Okay. So big thanks to Combat Application Technologies, CAT. They are definitely an interesting group. And them trusting our lab to do this evaluation is a pretty big deal to us. Very honored. I hope we are doing this justice. That would be my wish for this. So, okay. Let's move into topic 2 at a time of 51 minutes and 39 seconds. Okay. Okay, guys. Topic 2. PEW Science Lab Quiz number 5. Yeah, this was a good one, I think. And a lot of folks are participating in these. That's really great. Good to see. So we'll go over to answers. One moment here. Okay, so let's move on to something a little less insane, and let's talk about the latest PEW Science Lab Quiz. Oh, yay. I mean, these are so cool. I'm so happy with how these are turning out. And also what's cool to me is how a lot of people are participating in them. That is good to see, because they're participating, and a lot of people are doing really well in them too. And it's almost, some of it I see as like almost a demonstration of how far the effort's come, because it reflects really good on PEW Science when people do well in the quizzes, because it shows that the education is spreading very well. So I think there's a lot to, dare I say, there's a lot to unpack here. I've become what I hate. Okay, so this was an interesting quiz. The question was, shooting suppressed 5.56 at a berm, distance controls A, terminal velocity, B, Mach wave reflections, C, muzzle blast reflections, D, all of the above. Oh, interesting quiz. Yes, very interesting. Yes. No. So let me repeat that. Shooting suppressed 5.56 at a berm. Distance controls. A, terminal velocity. B, Mach wave reflections. C, muzzle blast reflections. D, all of the above. Okay, so guys, first of all, before we go over these answers, I just want to say you killed it. Bottom line up front, you guys are awesome. Excellent job. You guys did very well. And if you didn't get this right, but you actually participated, as always, you are better than the people who didn't participate. You're better, okay? Even if you got it wrong, because you actually played. Rub that in their faces. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so first one. Shooting. Okay, so shooting suppressed 5.56 at a berm. Distance controls blank. Was it A, terminal velocity, Well, yes, it does control terminal velocity. Is that the only correct answer? Well, no, it's not. 5% of you selected this, and you are right, but also wrong. It is not the only answer. Yes, terminal velocity is controlled by your distance to target. You know that. The further you are away, the lower the velocity your projectile has at its terminal position. We are using terminal velocity in that context, in the context of terminal ballistics. What happens when the projectile hits something terminally? Closer you are, the faster it is going. Further you are away, the slower. This is because there is air. What a drag. See what I did there? That's a physics joke. He's a madman. Shooting suppressed 5.56 at a berm. Distance controls. Mach wave reflections. B. Yes. 9% of you answered this. And yes, you are right. But again, not the only correct answer. It is a correct answer. Mach wave reflections. Yes. This is late time stuff. Right? What's a Mach wave reflection? It's a reflection of the wave. It's a reflection of the wave caused by that discontinuity in the medium that's traveling back upstream at the Mach angle. That's right. In plain English, it's the sonic crack. It's the wave created by that sonic disturbance, and it's reflecting off a variety of things. The ground, your face, the berm. It's going to get you no matter what. And the closer you are to the berm, the less of a problem that's going to be, depending on when it forms. But then, of course... reflections are a mother too, so that's why the question was probably worded the way it is. It controls, distance controls. Yeah, that's a complex geometric problem for you. Shooting suppressed 5.56 at a berm. Distance controls, muzzle blast reflections. Yes. 8% of you answered that, and you're right again, but again, not in totality, of course, making you wrong. So that by default lets you know what the correct answer is. All of these are controlled by distance. So muzzle blast, the reason that is one of them is you're shooting with a silencer. Is there still muzzle blast? Well, of course there is, guys. You have put a silencer over the blast load, but your silencer has a hole in it. There's a hole in the silencer, dear Liza, a hole. With what shall we plug it? No, don't. Don't plug your silencer's hole. Don't blow up your silencer. Yeah, there is indeed muzzle blast coming out of the end of that silencer, and boy, howdy, does it reflect still, no matter what. Remember in the previous topic, I talked about that ODB, how I was saying your experience might change when you shoot a silencer in different environments. This is one of those times. That muzzle blast will come back at you, whether it is the berm in front of you, beside you, behind you, the covered awning at the range. The further you are away from these things, the less certain late time phenomena will present as severe. The longer you draw things out, the less severe they are due to decay in these regimes. You feel me? Yeah, makes sense? Guys, that all the above answer, that was chosen by 79% of you. Bro. Was this quiz too easy, or are you guys just too smart? Find out on the next episode of the J Situation Podcast. No, thanks, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Exciting times, I think, to be a silencer consumer. I'll try to get some 300 Blackout member research out for you PEW Science members here in the near future. But man, we are also knee-deep in testing and analysis, so thank you for your patience. 2023, the year of our Lord, is shaping up to be a pretty neat time, I think, in this whole effort. So please stay safe out there, and I will talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.